Hi everyone, welcome to the very first video for my YouTube channel, and in this channel I'll be sharing with you guys a lot more about real estate related content. So for today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys Parktown Residences. I feel that Parktown is one of the best new launch in 2025. Disclaimer first, for those who are looking to buy your first property, right, do remember to get an opinion or advice from your real estate advisor or real estate consultant, because property is really one of the most expensive asset that you are going to buy in your lifetime. Today I'll be covering a lot about Parktown Residences, but at the same time I'll be covering a bit on Aurelle. The reason why I'm putting these two together, right, is because they are located side by side. You need to take note that they are two very different asset class. One is an EC and the other one is an integrated development. So the target audience will be very different. However, the location is similar, so the analogy whether to buy or not will be roughly similar. So you look at Aurelle. Aurelle is actually an EC, 760 units. Parktown is a integrated development with over 1,000 units. So it's considered a mega development lah. The developer for Aurelle is actually Sim Lian Land, and the break-even PSF for it is actually 1316 PSF. And one thing that you can take note of is actually the number of bids. For this plot of EC land, there were 7 bidders. So the reason why it's so competitive for this plot of land is because previously at Tenet, over 70% units were sold during the launch day. And then next up is our Parktown Residences. The developer is Topaz Residential. It's actually a joint venture between UOL, Singland, and also Capital Land. And the break-even PSF is 1661. The number of bids is slightly lower at 3 only. The reason is because it's actually a very big plot of land at 1.2 billion. I don't think there's a lot of developers out there with the financial capacity to take down this land by themselves. For this video itself, I'll go through a lot of macro and economics in terms of what are the transformation around the area before I talk more about Parktown. For Parktown and Aurelle, Parktown is located along Tampines Avenue 11 and Aurelle is located along Tampines Street 62. So again, I'm doing these two condos together is because they are just right beside one another. So in terms of the future developments around the surrounding area is very similar. Parktown and Aurelle, right, they are actually very strategically located. So they are in the center of 3 transformation. Firstly is your Punggol Digital District, secondly is your Paya Lebar Airbase, and lastly is your Changi Airport expansion. Punggol Digital District, right, is actually very interesting. It's where your extension of the new Punggol Coast MRT to your Northeast Line is. So right above it is where your SIT, and behind it there's also a business park to house all your tech firms. Punggol Digital District, right, we are expected to have about 28,000 new high-tech jobs and also 12,000 Singapore Institute of Technology students. And the best part is this Punggol Digital District, right, has already 65% of the space pre-committed as at 16 May 2024. So what are all these mean? For future owners of Parktown, right, this will be where your supply of tenants will be coming from. And then next up your airport, you can see this is where your T1, T2, T3, T4 is. And then T5 is actually as huge as your first 4 terminals combined together. And then at this area is actually your Changi East Urban District, where there will be more offices, hotels. So again, more jobs will be created, and this is where your supply of tenants will be in the future. Similarly, on the other end, where your Changi Logistic Park is also expected to expand. So again, more jobs created means your tenant supplies will be coming from here too. So you can see our airport is expected to handle up to 50 million passengers on top of the current capacity of 90 million. And then they will also to build a second logistic park. On top of that, you still have your Changi Business Park that is already operational for all the financial institution back-end offices. Paya Lebar Airbase is also something very interesting. So when the relocation from 2030 starts, right, it will free up over 800 hectares of space. And if you think about it, Singapore have over 60 years of township building. Do you think that they will make this one of the best township they have ever built? And with that being said, right, if this is the best, it will in return bring up all the values around the surrounding area. For Paya Lebar itself is already quite well developed with over 500,000 square meter of commercial floor space. So it's an alternative for business who do not want to be in the CBD area. So for those who have been to Paya Lebar area, it's actually quite bustling, quite vibrant during the weekdays and office hour, even also in the weekends. Why transformation is important is because invest in property is like investing in our government. When there's transformation, there will be new infrastructure, new jobs created, more amenities, our land cost increase, and then homeowners' property prices will also increase. So transformation is very, very important when it comes to your property investing. Right now, let's just zoom in into Tampines area itself. There's a news article on Tampines, so it states that Tampines has the highest degree of polycentricity. So basically what it means, right, is just saying that Tampines itself, people who or residents there living in Tampines area does not need to travel out of Tampines to get things done. So literally they can do everything within Tampines. And I think that's how the east side, best side term came out from. So you look at Tampines, right, we have our Tampines Mall, Tampines 1, Century Square, IKEA, Giant, and also the Courts. So the only thing that I feel that we are lacking of is actually a hospital. Since the Tampines Regional Centre has been built in the 1992s, right, URA has also said that there are plans to build more new mixed-use developments which will have homes, commercial space, and also integrated transport hub right at where our Tampines bus interchange at MRT station is. So if you look at the master plan, right, this is where Tampines Mall is, Century Square is, Tampines 1 is, and if this area become a integrated development, right, how much do you think it will cost? And if you were to enter Parktown right now, right, will it look like a steal in future? If you were to look at the location deeper, right, some of you might have a bit of concern because this is where your Parktown is and this is where your Aurelle is, and this entire area are actually manufacturing plant for our semiconductors. So when there are industrial parks and stuff like that, right, many people will be a bit concerned about the noise and sound pollution. But to me, I feel that if you have time, drive to this area, check out, wind down your windows, check out what are the sound level, is there any smell, or is there any noise pollution and whatnot. But to be very honest, I feel that most of the noise and sound and pollutions, right, is all along this expressway, which is your TPE. I need to emphasize again, EC and private condo is two very different products. For EC, there's this MOP period of 5 years, and if you were to include the building phase of 3 years, right, you have to hold for this property for almost 8 years. Whereas your private condo, there's only this SSD period of 3 years. The calculation for your housing loan is also a bit different. For executive condo, they use MSR, which is 30%, and for private condos, right, they use TDSR, which is 55%. Your HDB housing rules will apply for your EC, and there will be an income ceiling of 16,000, where your private condo does not have such rulings lah. Based on 16,000 income, MSR will only allow you to loan up to 981,000. But for TDSR, it will allow you to loan up to 1.8 million. So for those who are looking to buy a 3-bedder, right, if you can afford an EC with a 16K income, right, highly likely at a 2.4 million budget using TDSR, right, will allow you to purchase a private property. And I want to bring up to you another point, which is time value of money. I feel that this is very, very important, especially for those who are getting older, because at 30 years old, right, we are able to loan up to 2.4 million based on 16,000 income. So assuming your income doesn't increase across the year, right, at 45 years old, you can only loan up to 1.9 million. So at 30 years old, you'll be able to afford a 3-bedroom. But my question to you is, at 45 years old, 1.9 million, and bear in mind, this is 15 years later, will you still be able to afford a new launch at 1.9 million for a 3-bedder? If you are looking to buy EC, right, you have to really consider very carefully, because the moment when you commit into an EC, right, your holding period is minimum 8 years. And for those who buy into private property, right, they would probably flip for 3 times already over the past 8 years when you are still holding your EC. So who should buy EC or who should buy Aurelle, right? As long as your combined income is below 16,000 and your HDB upgraded, you want to have the deferred payment scheme and you can still live in your current HDB, right? And also those who do not want to over leverage since it's using the MSR. And most importantly, you don't mind holding the property for the next 8 years. So EC or Aurelle is really a very good alternative for you to choose on. Now I'll be talking a bit more on Parktown Residences. So you look at Parktown Residences, right, the floor area is 50,000 square meter, whereas for North Park Residences, right, is 41,000. So for those who have been to North Park, right, you will know that there are a lot of F&B choices, your shopping needs, all this can be satisfied below. And right now, Parktown is actually almost 20% larger, so we can expect more F&B options and stuff like that. And the next thing, when it comes to a mega development of over 1,000 units, right, we'll be afraid of it being too compact, too cluttered. The block to blocks are all very close to one another. But I feel that for Parktown Residences, right, you will not have such issue because you look at the land size and also the units, right. If you were to divide it accordingly, the unit to land ratio is 457.26. And to put into context again, Tampines Treasures is 294.5. Florence Residence is 276.06. So if you were to gauge, right, actually our unit to land ratio is actually very, very decent and very comfortable. You do not need to be afraid that your neighbor's block is too near to you, or your privacy will be easily intruded if your neighbors is standing at their balcony area. And next up, for schools, right, we have one very popular SAP school, or we call it the SAP school in Tampines, which is your Poi Ching Primary. So interestingly, Poi Ching Primary, the nearest condos are all actually ECs. And for now, right, there's no confirmation from the developer's side yet, but Parktown, probably half of the units will be within the 1 kilometer radius. The rest of the other condos that are within is only the Alps, the Tapestry, Santorini, and maybe one more, which is your Park Central. Alright, so again, one more interesting fact for SAP schools in the East area or in the OCR region, there's only two. One is your Red Swastika Primary at Bedok, and the other one is Poi Ching School, which is at Tampines itself. Okay, so why integrated developments is so popular among investors, right? It's because of this. Many investors look at rental yield, and there is a 30% in terms of average rental based on other integrated developments. We look at Woodley Residence versus Park Colonial. They are just one road across, and you get 30% difference in your average rental. Similarly, for Treasure Trove and Watertown, also again, just across the road, you get 30% difference in your average rental. The reason why there is this 30% difference, right, is really because of the convenience that you can have. It's really different when you just press a button, you head down, and right below you have everything, as compared for those who have to still walk one road across. So just imagine in times of rain, will it be inconvenient? You have to carry an umbrella, and probably at times of heavy rain, every one of you all should know the umbrella only make yourself dry for the first top half of your body, and the bottom half will be quite drenched also. Okay? So for Parktown Residences, right, you do not need to be afraid about your exit strategy because you will be flooded with HDB upgraders. And bear in mind, you look at all these HDBs, they are actually new HDBs that have yet to MOP or going to MOP soon, and it will add up to about 20 over 1,000 units. And all these are your potential future buyers. So you do not need to be afraid of your exit strategy, especially when you have a SAP school within the 1 kilometer radius. Some of you might be concerned whether HDB upgraders have the financial capacity to upgrade because the gap between a HDB and a private is getting larger. But to me, it's not a concern because Tampines people are quite rich. You look at them, they are able to pay 10% more as compared to our neighboring, which is your Pasir Ris and Sengkang. So, most importantly, what is the starting price of Parktown Residences? If we purely look at the break-even price, right, we're actually almost 10% cheaper than the next upcoming plot, which is along Tampines Street 94. So what does it mean? The developer for Parktown could potentially price cheaper than the next land plot. And bear in mind, Parktown is an integrated, whereas the next land plot along Street 94, right, is actually only a mixed development, which means that you will not have your MRT directly below your place as compared to Parktown. Another GLS comparison, right, we are actually only 9.5% more expensive than the next bidded plot of land along Tampines Avenue 5 bidded by Sinlian. And bear in mind, this is actually an EC plot of land. So again, we are really not that expensive. We look at the nearby new integrated project transactions, right? For Pasir Ris 8 is going to hit about 2,000 PSF already, and it's quite healthy in terms of the profit margin. For a two-bedder, we are looking at about 300,000 in terms of capital gain. Next up is your Sengkang Grand. Sengkang Grand also have increased by quite a fair bit. There are a lot more sub-sales. We are also seeing 2,200 PSF, that kind of range. And the profits are also very, very healthy for this integrated project. Resale as an example, so let's use Coco Palms. They are located right across the expressway, and the highest PSF that it has transacted is already 1797 PSF. So if you were to take the PSF divide by the remaining years and top up the lease back to 99 years times 1.05 because of harmonization, it will be 2240 PSF if it is launched today. So do you think Parktown will launch below 2K or not? We look at Jayden at Jurong, right? It's also an integrated development and people are already accepting the 2.8K price range. Next up, we look at Sora at Renching Road, right? People are already accepting 2.3K and even up to 2.5K PSF. Even for Lake Garden Residences, also along Renching Road, people are already accepting 2.3 to 2.5K. They are both launched last year. So if at Renching Road, that side where there is no MRT, right? People are accepting the 2.3 to 2.5K range. So do you think if Parktown is launched at 2.3 to 2.5K, it's an integrated development with everything right below your house, is it acceptable or not? Okay, and to be real honest, developers will never price it cheap because you look at the past few new launches at Trump Park, 76% sold at 2579 PSF average. The Ori, 86% sold 2007 PSF average. Emerald of Katong, 99% sold 2621 PSF. Nava Grove, 65% sold 2448 PSF. So all this has already proven that people are willing to pay. So if you have to look at all these transactions, it just give developer the confidence to actually price it higher because they know that the market will absorb. For those who have stayed on for this video, right, let me give you a bonus. So for Parktown unit mix, 1 and 2 bedders take up 55% of the total units, whereas the rest are 3, 4 and 5 bedders, which is only 45%. These 1 and 2 bedders will definitely sell out very fast. The reason why is because in the area, the Tampines North, that area, right, there is a lack of supply for 1 and 2 bedders. So the moment in future, right, people who wants to buy a 1 and 2 bedder in the Tampines North area, the only place that have this supply will be Parktown Residences. So I feel that for 1 and 2 bedder is the most digestible in terms of the quantum. These two will sell out first, definitely. And lastly, in Parktown Residences itself, right, there is no blocks that are true north-south facing. So most of the stacks, I would say you are expected to have a bit of either morning sun or afternoon sun. So for those who really hates afternoon sun, then you have to really be very careful in your stack choosing. My take on Parktown, right, it's the first integrated in Tampines. Subsequently, there will probably be one more because URA has released the statement. The next one will probably be in the Tampines Central area and the pricing will not be cheap. So if you were to buy into Parktown, right, you will have the first mover advantage. And then we are in this mature and yet transformation part. Because Tampines itself has been established since 1992. But this Tampines North area, right, there are so many BTO and it's very, very new at the moment. We also have good school, which is your Poi Ching school, SAP school. And as mentioned earlier on also, it's the rare SAP schools in the OCR region. The next one is at Bedok. And then your exit strategy, again, you do not need to worry. There are a lot of BTO clusters that is going to MOP in future. But now the only concern is your entry price. So my take is, if it's below 2,100, you can just buy. 2,001 to 2,350 can buy. And anything above 2,3, remember, choose your stack wisely. Just for the sake of fun, right, my estimated first day launch will be 70% sold. With that, I have finished my review on Parktown Residences. And if you like this kind of video, do remember to subscribe, like, and if you have any comments, just feel free, leave down in the comment box below. And if you need a one-to-one consultation, feel free, call me at 888 672 68. I will be more than happy to meet you for a free consultation.